This is a Fox News alert. 911 calls now being released as the FBI investigates a shocking murder in the heartland. Police in Oklahoma say a man beheaded a woman at a food plant and stabbed another woman. Co-workers tell police the suspect, 30-year-old Alton Nolen, had been trying to convert them to Islam. Trace Gallagher is live with this shocking story. Trace.
And right now, Shannon, it's very unclear if the suspect's beliefs in Islam played a role in this, but it appears that the victims were not targeted. They just happened to be the first ones to encounter this man, the suspect, 30-year-old Alton Nolen. They say that Nolen had just been fired from his job, that he actually took a car, drove around to the front of the business, ran into another vehicle, then walked into the front office with a produce knife and began stabbing a 54-year-old woman. He then beheaded her. He then started to stab another woman. That's when the CFO of the food company, Mark Vaughn, who is also a reserve deputy sheriff, shot the suspect multiple times. Listen now to the 911 call because you can hear the suspect in the background. Play this.
So we don't know where the person went. He went through our front office, went to the shipping office. He stabbed a woman in our customer service department. Okay. Can you hear this in the background?
Is that him? He's back?
Yeah, it sounds like he's running around out here.
Okay.
And that's a gunshot.
Got gunshot.
Sure.
Yeah, we don't know if the suspect was fired because he was trying to convert people to Islam, but the FBI is now looking into his background and, of course, looking into the question of domestic terrorism. We know that the suspect, Alton Nolen, did go to prison for assaulting a state trooper after a traffic stop back in 2010. He then led police on a 12-hour manhunt in the woods. But in the case of the stabbing, police say the off-duty deputy saved lives. Listen.
He's obviously a hero in this situation. It's very tragic that someone did lose their life, but it could have gotten a lot worse. This guy definitely was not going to stop. He didn't stop until he was shot.
The suspect and the second victim are said to be stable in a hospital right now, Shannon, and it's still unclear if he was also trying to behead the second victim. That police are trying to figure out, Shannon.
Yeah, as much as some folks may want to, we cannot ignore the potential implications. We're going to talk more about this case later on in the hour. Trace, thank you very much.
Bring up the story out of Oklahoma. It is a story that I read as a workplace violence story, but I want to play just a little bit of the sound from the press conference that followed a gentleman who beheaded a woman in the context of his having been fired. Then he goes back to the plant. He stabs several people. One of the women, her head is severed. But then this gets said at the conference. So let's just listen for a moment.
After conducting interviews with co-workers of Nolen, information was obtained that he recently started trying to convert some of his co-workers to the Muslim religion.
And then that's it. And now this is somehow about Islam.
That's it. You know, it's funny. Just so it's clear for everyone, there's nothing in the Quran that says if you get fired, go back to your workplace and kill people.
No.
So I want everyone to know that. They're out there like, is that? No, it's not in the Quran. You know, anything that's bad, a bad crime, I don't know about you, but please don't let them be Muslim. That's all I think. Please. So this guy's name wasn't Muslim. Then I read he converted, and I knew instantly it will be used. I mean, it's a gruesome crime, and you have to feel for the family of the woman who was killed. But the idea to turn this into, and we're seeing right-wing media use this, continuing the narrative. Look, Muslims are here in America. They're committing jihad. The man just converted last year. There was over 500 workplace killings last year. Yep. We don't know about the religion of any of those murderers. But if someone is Muslim, it's got to be a terrorist.
Right. The idea that is the relevant piece of information. So, I mean, it may be that some ideology, right-wing, left-wing, is taking this, but you know, at that moment in that press conference, I don't think someone is like representing right-wing ideology. They literally just believe, right? And I think this to me is the most, that there's a belief that at the core, this is something like, so he also probably had breakfast that morning, but we don't think any of those things are relevant, but we do think that his conversion, his jailhouse conversion, by the way, is what's relevant.
And that, I think, is the biggest problem, is that there should be a cultural paradigm shift in which it's not okay to create that linkage
immediately.
Exactly.
We already know that it's not okay to equate all white men with school shootings. We can't do that. It's not okay.
Right.
And so we
because it just doesn't even happen in anyone's mind. This doesn't even occur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have gone on and on and on creating this language between Muslims and violence, and we need to have a counter narrative, and we don't. So what we need, and that's what we're trying to do.
Muslims are funny.
Muslims are funny. That's the new stereotype. Pass it around. Muslims are hilarious.
Yeah.
It is a frightening call to arms to ISIS supporters around the world. In one more highly produced message, an ISIS spokesman says, the best thing you can do is to kill any disbeliever, whether he be French, American, or from any of their allies. This week at the UN in New York, the Obama administration will make its own call to arms, attempting to unite the world against ISIS.
This is one of the most dangerous groups that I have seen in my time in public life. Why? Because they have a radical extremist philosophy, cultish attitude. They have declared enemy anybody who isn't them.
The focus in New York is on internationalizing the effort, including the U.S. airstrikes against ISIS targets in Syria expected to begin soon. The American ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, made this prediction.
We will not do the airstrikes alone if the president decides to do the airstrike.
President Obama will also be pushing for a resolution to prevent and track the travel of foreign fighters to Syria, a step to combat the threat of ISIS overseas. Where the administration does not yet have an offer of help is providing the foreign ground forces that many military commanders and lawmakers believe are necessary.
Local forces are always going to be your best bet, fighting ISIL in a country that, of course, belongs to the Iraqis, the Kurds, and in the case of Syria, the Syrians.
The U.S. is getting help on the ground from an unlikely partner, Iran, whose elite Revolutionary Guard has deployed military advisors to Kurdish fighters, just as the U.S. has done. And on the threat from ISIS, Iran and the U.S. are on message, practically word for word.
I can't agree more that this group is neither Islamic nor is it a state.
They're not a state, and they do not represent Islam. They're the enemy of Islam. What they